So Art Walk's coming up.
Yep.
And you are hosting an artist, a band, or a musician, rather?
Mm-hmm. Musician, solo. Big Lizard. Big Liz. Not sure which one she goes by, but she's cool. She's been in other bands, and she's doing solo stuff now. So I'm not sure how hosting a musician's going to go because I don't have a ton of space up there, but I'm excited for just the prospect of bringing new people in that haven't been up there before.
Yeah. And so this is the first time. How many people have you had up there at once? Like, how many people can you support up there? Like, say, 10 people show up, 20?
Yeah, probably probably 20 at the max, just because it's a private studio. It's not huge, and there's trinkets, old stuff hanging on the wall that I wouldn't love to have broken.
Yeah. I guess it's part of the allure of downtown. There's like pros and cons, right? Having a business downtown, you got a limited space at times, limited parking. But what do you think about it? Are you happy you're where you're at? I've enjoyed
the location for sure. It's the building's gorgeous. It's a super old building that's been renovated, and you can almost feel the history in the floors and the walls of the place. But yeah, been successful down there. Always since I've discovered the name of the shop, Smoky Row. I always wanted to have a shop downtown, and you can actually see the namesake from the shop window.
Tell us about the namesake. I know we've spoken about it, but tell me again.
Right. Commerce was the first, as far as I know, as far as I've read, Commerce was the first road that was paved in Russellville. That's why it was called Commerce, because that's where a lot of business was done. But it was called Jefferson Avenue before they changed all the names. But most of the locals referred to it as Smoky Row because that's where all the saloons and taverns were. It got a bit lively there.
Yeah.
Smoking, drinking.
Yeah, no. So, one of these buildings we're right next to, the owner's actually taken me up there before. And have you been up there?
No,
I've heard. One I'm talking about.
The fire marshal told me about it.
Yeah, it's interesting because he says it was an old hotel or like brothel setup.
Yeah. Colorful history.
Exactly. Well, so what year was it? Are we talking 18? I guess the late 1800s.
This was late 1800s, right before the big fire.
Okay, so before cars, I guess cars came around like in early 1900s. Started proliferating around. I don't know when the Model T was or whatever. Model A, Model T. You a car guy?
Nope.
Me neither. I don't know a thing about it. Let me guess. You like tattoos. that's
yeah, it's a good guess.
When did you get your first tattoo?
18
Really?
years old. Yeah. I was not sure if I could do it. I was pretty scared of needles. So I went and got this little star.
Oh, really? That was the first one?
Yeah. To see if I could do it.
And then the second one, was it also when you were 18?
Oh, man. What was it?
Or did you take a break?
One? It's hard to remember because I was pretty broke when I was a kid, teenager. I prioritized other things. But I'm kind of glad that I didn't have the money for the tattoos I wanted then because I probably would have gotten stupider ones. I took my time and got them as I had, money and knowledge to seek out people that I respected to get tattooed by.
Yeah. And so from 18, first tattoo, when did you start is it called apprenticing?
Mm-hmm. I started apprenticing when I was 28.
Okay, so a good 10. What did you do during that 10 years? You weren't tattooing.
Well, everything but. Yeah, no, I was a cook at Cracker Barrel. I assistant managed a shoe store. Was a GM for a Sears. Different retail jobs, just kind of bouncing around. I was always I played music for a lot of my life, so that was my creative outlet. I would just work a job and then be able to do what I wanted to in my free time. Growing up, it was never really, it didn't seem like an option to get paid to do something you enjoyed. Everybody I knew just worked a job they didn't really like. So it was, once I realized that could happen at 28, when I started getting into tattooing, then it was something I very heavily pursued.
So was there somebody that you met, a mentor perhaps, or something like that showed you hey, you can make a living doing what you want to do?
Yeah, absolutely. The guy that mentored me, his name's Dave Bishop in Benton, Arkansas. I lived there because I was working at the Sears store, but I started getting more interested in tattoos and just wanted to find a shop to get tattooed at. And I had been tattooed at one other place in town, and it wasn't a great experience. But with him, he was the first person that showed me that it could be a fun experience. Like I had a few tattoos at that point, but it was always very much like sit down, shut up, get your tattoo, kick rocks. Like he was the first person to be like, we can slow down, we can go at your pace, we can do shorter lines, talk more. You know, I don't want you to pass out, I want you to have a good time. And that was kind of mind blowing because I didn't know it could be like that. And I think that's kind of what made me want to do it, just so more, just for lack of a better term, nice guys would get into the industry. You know, there's a lot of jerks tattooing that are grumpy. I don't understand that. I have the coolest job in the world, in my opinion. I'm happy to see you when you come in to get tattooed by me.
Yeah, no, I like the small details you add into the shop, like writing on your small little mini fridge, like the person's name, welcome to Smoky Row. That's a nice touch, you know, that shows, I don't know.
Well, I know you're coming, you know. I know who you are. I know your name. I've written it out. You're not one of 13 people that are coming that day, and it's an impersonal experience that's, you know, it's cold or there's nothing to look at, or I don't know. I've had weird experiences in different tattoo shops, and it seems like a lot of tattooers forget that it's still customer service. I want you to leave happy with the money you spent so that you come back again.
Yeah. And kind of going back to what we said, though, about you considering or not considering that something like this was a possibility. It's interesting because it comes down to really your mindset, right? Like what your mind's been exposed to. Possibilities and
for sure. And I mean, it's not always a possibility for everyone to pursue their dream or to even get into tattooing. A lot of guys I was pretty broke for the whole time I was learning to tattoo because you can't really push it because you're learning, you know, and you're paying to learn. So you usually have to like work another job and you're spread thin that way. You gotta really put in the time and show that you care about it. You can't just take from the industry. You got to give back. So
that's a good point. You know, you got to show up, give value, learn, put in your reps. And I think that's true of most things. You know, a lot of people will show up expecting you got to work for it.
Yeah.
Right. Work is required. What do you think about these tattoo shows? Like, are they pretty legit? The ones we see on TV?
It's a double-edged sword. I very much appreciate the perspective that they've given the general public because it used to be very held closely to the chest. You know, you don't get to see what I'm doing. You don't get to see the process unless you go get tattooed in a shop, and you may not love that environment. But opening that up and showing them makes people see that, you know, we're just people working, you know, tattooers. We're not scary dudes or people, you know, so they can go get, you know, it gives them, like I said, a perspective or an insight that they wouldn't normally get. So they feel more comfortable getting tattooed. But shows like that have weird time constraints or weird, you know, even challenges that don't have much to do with tattooing, then it creates like a weird, like people think if they've watched every season of that show, they know all there is to know about tattooing. And they come into your shop thinking they know more than you. And that's not really the case. That's why I say it's a double-edged sword. It does give a perspective, but then people come in with unrealistic expectations of a tattoo because they've only watched a reality television show.
Yeah. Yeah. What's the best one? Like the one that has the least amount of like tattoo sends in it, I guess.
Well, I mean, Ink Master is the one that's been around for the longest, and it's got reputable judges, and it's grown a ton. From the first season, it was like there were people that shouldn't have been on there, but now they're in like 15 or 16, and there are like fantastic artists that are doing groundbreaking stuff on there. So
what are your goals in the industry overall? Like what you know, some people are here to like push the needle forward and like invent new techniques or whatever it may be in their craft, and then others find value in other aspects of it. Where do you fall on that?
I mean, I definitely, I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel with tattooing. I know that. I do classic tattoos, American traditional, Japanese traditional stuff that, like, when you think of a tattoo in your head, that's what I do. Like a mom heart, a skull, a rose, a Sailor Jerry, classic stuff like that. But there's something to be said about these designs, man. They've stood the test of time. They've been getting tattooed for hundreds of years, and they look good, you know, decades later. Mm-hmm. So I try to use the knowledge that, you know, the industry has learned over the years, and utilize that. And like I said, I'm not trying to do tattoos that I'm not sure how they're going to look in 10 to 20 years. I want to do a tattoo I know is going to look good. I want it to to serve its purpose. And for, you know, if you can see it from 20 feet away when it's fresh, and you can probably see it for 20 years.
Yeah. Will you tattoo my hand? Maybe the words like love right there across the knucks. What do you think?
Nope.
Why not?
Not until you get some tattoos, man.
So that's like a coveted.
Yeah. It's revered space in the industry, yes. You're supposed to earn it. But also on a pain threshold, like it feels way different right here than it feels right here.
Right there on the bone.
Yeah, if you can't handle it right here, then I don't know if you can handle it here. But if we're starting there, you know, you might just scream and jerk and run off, and then now that's my work that's running around, you know? Mm-hmm. But also, you never know what situation people are in. I'm not trying to be anybody's moral compass, but I do got to sleep at night. I'm not going to give an 18-year-old their first tattoo on their hand, and then they can't get a job ever. Like, that sucks. And then I did that. I feel responsible for that. But also, you don't know what people are under the influence of or who they're under the influence of. They might have somebody in their ear telling them to do something that don't have their best interest in mind, or, you know, you never know the situation people are in. So I just, Lyle Tuttle said, you got to have a conscience to work in this industry. You can't just slap whatever people want on them. So you got to
kind of guide them.
Yeah. I do this every day. So I can tell you what will work, what will look good, and what's not possible, and what may not be possible for me. It may be possible for somebody else, but I'm not going to lie about my abilities as a tattooer. I'm going to be straight and upfront about it, because this is one industry where it does you no good to lie about that. You know, it's permanent. I'm going to do what I know I can do, and if you want something else, I'll send you elsewhere. You know, that's fine. I know good tattooers all over the state that specialize in things other than what I do.
Okay, you said it's permanent, but is it really permanent? I've heard, and we'll talk about laser like removal in a minute, but I've also heard of new inks, and this has been like 5 or 6 years ago, and I just read it online. Inks that only last a few years and then they fade away. What do you think about that?
I don't know much about them. All I know is if you want a tattoo, get a tattoo. Like those,
just go out.
Yeah, I mean, and some of those have even had issues. Like I've seen studios getting sued 3-4 years later because it was supposed to be gone in 2 years and they could still see it. And then it's like half a tattoo because it was supposed to be ink that didn't stay, you know, and then it looks even worse than if they had just gotten a cheap tattoo, you know, that was a real one. Yeah.
So what actually happens? So when you get a tattoo, there's a needle that, really quickly, it's going, penetrating your skin, shooting ink in there. Like how deep, I guess the ink sits in your skin. Do you have anything to help us visualize this process?
I mean, you can, I have printed out guides that'll show like a skin, cross section to kind of show, and you can Google those. But basically, you're shooting for like your 5th to 7th layer of dermis, I believe, or epidermis. You don't want to go into the blood. That's why, like,
right,
I don't like.
That could kill you, right?
Yeah. You don't want to hit the bloodstream. That's where you get blowouts and where it spreads. You get those like hazes around a like poorly done tattoo. Oh, I'm getting away from my...
It's just like tattooing someone. Sometimes I guess you get over here.
Yeah.
Hold them down.
But
so you've never killed it. No, that's good to know.
Yeah, no, never killed anybody. Never killed anyone. No, it's the reason that I can handle it as opposed to like, hypodermic needles is because it is different. Those are trying to hit the bloodstream, whereas this, we're literally just trying to get into the skin and leave the ink and get out. Minimal skin trauma, just leave a pretty mark. At least that's my goal. I try to tattoo quickly and efficiently so that I'm not wasting time in the skin and causing unnecessary skin trauma.
So so permanent. There's really 2 more ways, I think, just as a person who only has a couple, doesn't know a ton about it, that you can get rid of a tattoo. You can go cover up or you can laser it off, right? Mm-hmm. And does it lasering work? Yeah,
it depends on the intensity of the tattoo, really.
If it's real deep, it probably won't.
Yeah, real deep, real black. I've seen some people have to get like, 7 to 10 sessions on laser sessions on one tattoo to get it removed, whereas it took one time for it to go there. That's why it's important to
get something you want.
Yeah, get something you want and research your artist. Make sure you've seen their portfolio and you're happy with 90% of it. You'd wear most of what they put out, and check their healed work too. it's very important. Like I said, this is an industry where, unfortunately, I'm in the minority when it comes to how I feel about lying about my abilities as a tattooer. There are a lot of people out there that'll say, "Yeah, I can do that," and take your money, and then you're very unhappy with the product, and then it's very expensive to get fixed or removed. So do your research.
One time I was in Colorado going to get a tattoo, and I ended up walking into this one shop looking at their book. Mm-hmm. And yeah, you definitely look at the book. I walked out. Mm-hmm. I was like, man, this place isn't for me.
Yep.
But yeah, cover-ups. Do you do cover-ups? Because you've kind of said no. Just kind of try to avoid it.
I mean, the shop policy is no face, neck, hand, or cover-up tattoos. I just try to, once again, stay in my lane and do what I know I'm confident in doing. Mm-hmm. I know my abilities. I'm better with just fresh skin, fresh designs. There are people that specialize in cover-ups. I can do some, but it's generally not going to be the first thing I do for you, because I would like to be hired for my art, you know. Mm-hmm. I would like to have a crack at some fresh skin, to be honest. I don't mean to be like, no, but people are better at that than I am. I'm not claiming to be the best at cover-ups. I claim to be pretty good at traditional tattoos. That's why I stick to those. Mm-hmm. And like I said, it's definitely something we can talk about. You know, if you come get a tattoo and you're like, I've got this one, you know, that I'm unhappy with, needs to be fixed, needs to be covered up. You know, once you get in there, we can talk about it. But yeah, as the owner, I guess I can break the policy. You know? Yeah,
no, absolutely. So how do people book with you? I know you have a website. Is that the best way for people to?
Yep, just go to smokyrowtattoo.com. There's an intake form at the bottom. You fill that out. It tells me what you want, where you want it, how big, any extra notes. Sends me an email, and then I respond with the booking link, and you book from there. You go pick the date that works for you.
But what if I don't know what tattoo I want? Is it
That's fine.
Do you prefer people to know beforehand, or do you want to start?
I mean, if you're familiar with my style and you just love it and want me to have fun and do something cool, then that's totally fine. I have people book. I don't know yet. I'll look at the books or pick off the wall. That's totally fine. As long as it's something that's like in my wheelhouse, you know. Yeah. I'm obviously not going to do like a black and gray portrait if you don't know what you're going to do and you come in wanting that. I'm going to say no. You know, we're going to do something else, or we're going to reschedule, or you know, because that's just not what I do.
Right. So you ever have one of those moments where your mind goes blank? Like I had an important question, and then boom, just gone. Just a left hook out of nowhere. Art styles, right? You specialize in American traditional, Japanese traditional, but what kind of tattoos do you have? I'm looking at you. They look pretty traditional for the most part.
Yeah, I mostly have.
Do you mix other art styles? Like
somewhat.
On the body, can you? How much can you get away with when it comes to mixing?
You can get all kinds of styles, man. I think that's what's cool about it is you can get traditional. You can get just black work, you can get lettering, you can get tribal, you can get all kinds of different stuff. And as long as you're just present in the moment when you're placing these tattoos and paying attention to the big picture, you're going to be fine. It all kind of melds together. I mean, your tattoos, in my opinion, are just kind of a documentation of your life. I got this one here when I was doing this. I got this one here when I was, going through this,
right. So do they have to have meaning? I mean, I know they don't have to, right? You can just get tattoos, it looks cool. But for you, like, it's more of like, hey, I did this cool thing. Here's a memory of it. Not a grant.
I mean, it depends with each of mine. Sometimes I'll seek out an artist that I want to get tattooed by, or sometimes I'll want a specific image, like the rose. I wanted a certain guy, Scott Wheeler, to do my right hand. I wanted Jeff Slack to do my left hand. I knew I wanted a scorpion and a rose. He drew his before. He drew his right on. I don't know. Each artist kind of works differently, so it's good to just trust them and trust their process.
What do you think would look cool on me?
Lots of traditional tattoos.
There's lots.
So many
of them.
Yeah.
Nice.
Bodysuit.
I have 3, and one of them I got in an event, a climbing event. So that was kind of a good one because I will always remember that first one. It was a free tattoo. They were like free tattoos. I just looked ahead, but they were like this big. Yeah, and then the other 2 kind of have like some general meaning behind them. But I'm at a point now where I keep thinking about it. Oh, what would be cool next? I think an arm one, but I don't know. Once you go visible, you can't go back. And I still harbor a little bit of thoughts like, man, is this going to change something for me? Are people going to look at me different in business? And I don't know. Maybe it's changed.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it definitely has, especially with like, there have been shifts in society over the decades. Like, at first in like the 30s and stuff, it was mostly like criminals and bikers and, the ruffians that wore them. But then like after the wars, like you saw your war heroes wearing them, sailors and Marines. And then it kind of raised societal respect of the tattoos because then you're seeing a different, class of people wearing them. And then with the tattoo shows, that was the big one in the, in the last 20 years that has just really opened up and changed society's perception of them.
It's definitely also like how tasteful they are. Obviously if you have the word hate on your neck, that's not probably going to do you much favors in like a business setting.
Yeah, that's another thing that has changed a lot too. It's like the imagery that you can get tattooed is wildly different and varies these days.
Yeah.
So you can get really pretty stuff, and it won't be as aggressive as hate across the throat.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, everyone listening, you can, if you want to talk to Justen, learn more about what he does, smokyrowtattoo.com. Yep. You sell some merch on there too, don't you?
Yep.
Yep. So you can go get some merch. You can talk to him about a design, American traditional, Japanese traditional, right there, right across from the courthouse, in the middle, the heart of downtown Russellville.
Heart of downtown. Yep.
Smack dab middle. So I like that, Justen. Is there anything else that you think we should discuss or talk about?
No. Oh, one other thing. If you're not sure what to get, I was going to say this a second ago. That is often when I will push Japanese traditional imagery, because even if you're not going to do a whole sleeve, you can get like something, a fox, kitsune, or cherry blossom, sakura, something like that, and then it's like sakura, cherry blossoms represent like springtime, change, fleeting nature of life. You can generally like find some very significant imagery from Japanese mythology or, just Japanese tattoo history, and then it will have a big, symbolization or representation. And then you can kind of align those things. I've got a book that is Japanese tattoos and their meanings, and I'll generally hand that to someone if they're not sure, and then they'll usually find something that kind of aligns with what they're looking for, or at least kind of put you in the right direction.
Absolutely. Kind of baking meaning into tattoos. One of these days I'm going to get something that represents kind of what we're doing here. I just don't want it to be a logo. I want it to be a bit more vague. So, as life progresses, it can still maintain meaning, right?
Yep. So you'll figure it out.
It's a great way to do that.
Keep it organic.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Justen. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for sharing a bit about what you do.
For sure.
And, for everyone listening, go check Justen out, Smoky Row Tattoo.
Thanks, Tal.